Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Lance Stroll's Fan Club. Probably the last episode of Lance Stroll's Fan Club until we go back to how we are properly named, which is, of course, the Fastest Podcast. The only show on YouTube that discusses everything from the greatest overtakes to the fastest pit stops. As you'll see on screen, I'm joined by two people. First of all, the man who is pretty much in tears at the moment after a catastrophic Ferrari display. It's Dogra.
Oh,
And I am joined by the woman who was trackside all weekend, our very own weather alert radar. It is Jasmine.
Hello.
I'm going to come straight to you, Jasmine. We're going to get straight into it today. First of all, your race thoughts. I'm going to prompt you on two things here: Bortoletto and Lance Stroll.
Bortoletto, Lance Stroll. Well, Bortoletto, incredible race from him. I know he qualified well yesterday, but he kept with the pack. He had a great, really, really steady drive. And Lance Stroll, Lance Stroll fan club for a reason. I think they've really turned it around at Aston Martin, even in like a week. How much it's changed since Belgium, and it looks really promising. I hope that they can kind of carry that momentum in to this into and out of the summer break. But I have to say the gap between kind of top 3, top 4, and the Aston Martins in real time was a lot. It was a big one. It was very sort of reminiscent of Alonso in Monaco. Monaco without walls. So yeah, I think it was a really strong performance, and it's great to see that like the rookie drivers are putting in really strong drives, especially at quite technical and like complicated tracks as well. So yeah, it was a great show from both of them today. Green cars. Great day for a green car.
Yeah, it wasn't only them either as well. Obviously, you had Lawson and Hadjar both drove very good races. Antonelli got into the points after a little bit of a crisis of confidence he's been having recently. So overall, the rookies in general had a very good day. It was a day for drivers who don't normally score points highly.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the gap between the top two to third and fourth to then everyone after that, and even Max, who wasn't really able to get himself up there as well. So, yeah, mixed up grid even without rain. So Hungary, for all its flaws, has thrown up some surprises today, but it obviously hasn't thrown up a surprise in terms of the race win, or if you're Dogra, it has, because he is not the most happy man regarding who won the race and where Leclerc finished. So I will chuck that over to you, Dogger, and you can have your rant or cry on camera for a minute.
P1 to P4 in a matter of laps.
Yeah.
I think it was about lap 40 that we started seeing Leclerc like fall off.
Yeah.
I thought he might be able to come back when he got overtaken by Piastri, but then he got overtaken by Russell as well, and I was like, why am I even watching this race? But no fault of his own. It was a car issue. I think we saw that after the race that there was some issues with the chassis of the car, which basically caused a shift in the downforce and just made him lose a lot of speed. And I guess it's a great day for Russell. Do nothing, get P3, wait for Ferrari to mess up. It's not in the right chronology, but you get the point. But yeah, not only did Leclerc have a bad race, Hamilton did not make up any position at all. He started P12, he stayed P12. And neither Leclerc nor Hamilton were happy with the result, obviously, because we literally saw Hamilton say that he was useless last day, just yesterday. And then today he was like,
qualifying.
yep. And now he's like, I just want to move on. And as a Ferrari fan, I understand.
Yeah. Well, if we'll stick on the Ferraris for a second. Obviously, both drivers haven't done very well. Leclerc P1 to P4, Hamilton P12 to P12 didn't really do much, saying yesterday he's useless. In terms of Ferrari as a team now, where do they go from here?
Um, they go. They just try to maintain their P2 in the constructors at this point because I think that's the only thing they have going for them right now. I guess at this they shouldn't. I know they should be challenging for the wins, but if it's not on the cards, then they should just be able to score as many points as they can, so that they can at least stay ahead of Mercedes in terms of the constructors championship and come back stronger next year, which I always say, but I always get disappointed. That's
I
all I
mean,
have to say. Sorry.
I mean, today, like from the sort of first stint, Leclerc looked so strong. You know, he completely pulled away from Piastri.
Yeah.
Um, he looked like a really dominant drive. So it was quite disappointing. I think you could feel there were a lot of Ferrari fans there today, and I don't think they were having a lot of fun. But I
Neither
don't
was our
know.
one.
I had my hat on. It was just it was a bit of a tough one I think for them. But seriously, he looked so dominant in the first stint. You know, completely pulled away. Oscar couldn't seem to make a dent. I think it just completely came down to their strategy. Leclerc's kind of said in his radio, "Why didn't you listen to me?" You know, another classic
Yeah.
Ferrari moment. So I suppose a lot of things kind of went into that, but I do think
I. You can continue. I think.
no, I do think it was a strategy error that kind of cost them today because the pace looked good, and if they had issues, like you say, um, yeah,
I mean, the issues were pointed out after the race, so I mean, I wish they identified them during the race. Otherwise, it would have been such a. They might have been able to salvage it some way or the other. I. It's not the fact that Leclerc got P4. It's the fact that he got P4 from P1, which just really, burns my peas. But it's I at this point I feel like Science would be pretty much happy with himself that he
The
left
joys of
Ferrari.
live podcast recording.
mm.
Ah,
Is the wife back?
as you know. No, that was just some form of neighbours. So, yeah. Right, where were we on that one?
Ferrari's miserable stint.
Oh, yeah, we're still on this one.
Yeah,
It's fun.
Yeah,
Well,
but
you
I
were still
think
on Douglas, so yeah, I'll let you carry on with that.
she did. You can go ahead now.
Yeah, no, I was going to agree. Obviously, it was a pretty tricky time for Ferrari, especially with the first didn't seem really good. Leclerc was holding a good gap, and then it seemed to go wrong from the pit stops. And as you said, he was saying on the team radio, "You should have listened to me." And obviously, we don't know what happened there. Was it an issue with the front wing that they changed it and his balance was off? But he got overtaken by Piastri at the very first time of asking. Russell had no problems getting past him after that either. So it just seemed to be just down, 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 and there was nothing really he could do at that point.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the I was just kind of saying before as well, like just a complete strategic failure. I think the dummy call from McLaren. Also, yeah, not listening to Leclerc. I think it just all kind of the cards fell how they fell, and it didn't work out. I think the scope of it is maybe slightly worse because Lewis didn't improve. So you can't really just say Leclerc had a bad race, unlucky. There clearly was something wrong with that car today. So yeah, on to the next.
Yeah, there is only an improvement for Ferrari, you hope. the only way they can get much worse if Leclerc starts performing the same as Hamilton, which hopefully doesn't happen. Hopefully, this is where Lewis now over the summer break he can start to come back up. He can try and find some confidence and some enjoyment again in racing, because I think part of it is he has lost his enjoyment now. He's had such a tough time. I think he's lost a bit of enjoyment in the Formula One. As a seven-time world champion who's raced in the most dominant Mercedes team, or most dominant Formula One team for however long, he won. I don't know how many races, came second in championship debut season, won in 2008. He's been at the top and fighting at the front for so long, and now he's come into a Ferrari team that is struggling. I think his enjoyment is dwindling, and it's been kind of ever since that 2021 Abu Dhabi, dare I mention the race incident, and 3 years without a win. So he's got to try and find some enjoyment in racing again, and I hope in the summer break, when he goes away and reflects, he can do just that.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of saying, I think, to Sky after the race that he still has that love and that passion for driving, but it's just not clicking kind of how he's wanted it to with Ferrari. But I don't really feel shocked by it. I think maybe for him, he probably thought he would be performing better by this point, but I think we've kind of seen how hard that card can be to navigate anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know what you guys think, but obviously we've heard August the 8th be mentioned a little bit. What does August the 8th have to offer? Is it going to be something drastic that changes the grid, that changes 2026, or is it a kind of nothing thing, a bit of new merch coming out? What do you guys think August the 8th for Lewis Hamilton links?
I don't even know what you're talking about, actually.
The 8th of the 8th.
I mean, if it means that he'll get an eighth championship, sure. Like, I'm on board. I'm on board.
Just kind
I
of been, it's just kind of.
I think we've lost Dogger a little bit on connection there, so we'll go over to you, Jazz,
Yeah,
until he comes back properly.
I was gonna.
Yeah, we'll come to you.
Okay. No, I think that there could be some significance to it. You know, 8th day, 8th month, 8th championship. I don't really see, unless he's going to Red Bull. Like, what's the?
Yeah,
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really see anywhere else on the grid for him. You know, I don't think it's going to be some big shock, like huge news. I also don't think that he'd get through half a season with Ferrari and go, bye. Like, no, I don't think it's anything
yeah,
crazy. It is probably maybe a new brand he's launching. He's been really involved, even more so than before, with like the fashion side of things. So, yeah, I don't. He's just come off the back of, I think, a Dior collaboration. So it could just be something in that regard. I don't think it's going to be Lewis to Red Bull or something like that.
yeah. I mean, it probably is most likely some kind of merch thing. You have the whole follow the smoke hint that he gave, but again, that could mean nothing really. I did see a theory, crazy theory, rolling around on Twitter somewhere that this is going to be a driver swap. Antonelli will go to Ferrari, Italian driver makes sense. Lewis Hamilton will go back to Mercedes, but I don't see that happening after just 6 months with Ferrari. But if it did happen, it also wouldn't shock me.
Uh, I feel like it's something to. I feel like it's merch thing as well because I remember it being mentioned somewhere in Hamilton's contract that they can actually help. Ferrari would actually help Lewis Hamilton with his, being a brand ambassador, and they help him with sponsorship deals and everything. But might be something related to that. But still, I'd like to see what it is before I can actually make an opinion on it.
I mean, to add to the conspiracy of it all, we have seen a lot of Toto Wolff, Fred Vasseur in each other's garages. Today, Toto was spotted at Ferrari. Not the sort of place you usually see a team boss. I still don't think it is that, but it's fun to speculate.
You're muted, my friend.
Still muted there. You wouldn't be shocked if it did happen, but it's one of those things that probably won't happen. But you can enjoy the speculation, like we've done with Max to Mercedes for a while. We can all enjoy the speculation until we're eventually told, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the only other thing really from what's gone on today is the big McLaren fight. We've discussed it in a few podcasts previously. They are on the channel. You can go and check them out. Mainly is, where is the fight between the McLaren drivers? Where's the fire in the battle? They are in the championship fight. The gap is now 9 points. Oscar is leading at Lando by 9 points. And this is going into the summer break. The question that it comes out from now is the McLaren racing rules. Race each other, but don't collide. But then you have Oscar Piastri making a late move and locking up and very nearly losing his front wing and collecting his teammate in the process. He then gets told a reminder of how they race. And on the final lap of the race, in his final chance, when he is as close as he's been, he brakes earlier, is more cautious, and that move doesn't happen. If those rules aren't in place for the McLaren drivers, they will go in and they will fight as hard as they can. We are now at a point of 9 points difference with, I think it's 8 races to go, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
10.
10 races.
10 races to go. Miscounted. With 10 races to go. If we're in the final 3 or 4 races and the gap is 10 points, are the drivers still going to race fair and race clean when a 25 to 18 point swing can completely change the championship?
I feel like, again, I've said this before, I'm saying it again, McLaren needs a choice to make. Wait. McLaren has a choice to make, sorry. And it's an important choice because even in today's race, we can say that Piastri was dominant. Or at least I'd like to believe so because he started P2, he stayed at P2, and I think the only reason why Norris wanted is because of the strategy difference. Otherwise, if Piastri was not told to race carefully, it's either that they'd have both crashed or Piastri would have passed them. Because we saw Piastri catching up to Norris, we saw Piastri pulling away from Norris, and I feel like this is Piastri's championship. That's just my honest opinion on this entire thing. I feel like in the last 4 to 6 races, they'll have to get rid of the papaya rules and let them race as hard as they can, lest they have a really, really awkward situation on their hands where none of the drivers are racing and one of the drivers just gets handed a championship, just because of the strategies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what happened today, maybe a controversial opinion, but I think it was a stupid move from Piastri. I think he wasn't close enough. He made a late lunge. It wasn't going to happen, And in those situations, I can understand completely why McLaren are saying no, because it's not like it was a clean, easy overtake. There was nothing there. He was way too late, and nothing was going to come out of that. And we've seen him do that before with Lando, and it's not like you're racing someone else. You're racing your teammate. So I don't think that Oscar is maybe as considerate of the whole team as maybe we've seen Lando be, which again, fair enough. He's driving to win, completely fair. But I think it's something that he still maybe hasn't quite come to terms with as a driver. I mean, Lando's been in the sport a lot longer than him, but when you're risking a 1-2 so late in the race, if you're going to make a move, make a smart move, and I don't think that that's what that was today. And again, as I say, I think we've seen it before from him. He loves a late lunge into a lockup.
Yeah.
I don't think it pays off for him, and he lost time from it. So obviously on the next lap he was going to be down, and he was going to miss out on that chance because the move that he made was just not smart racing. It just felt quite like a desperate move, which I completely get it, but I don't think it was going to pay off for him. So I totally get where McLaren were coming from.
Oh yeah, especially when they don't want their drivers to crash, and you can see it's a desperate move. The call had to be made, but I think that call made him be more cautious when he was closer. And I think if you can see now, even now, like Lando's done it in Canada, maybe he went in a bit too much, and that's why he crashed out, and he did take the blame for that, so you say fair enough to him. But even now, with 10 races to go after this one, you've got Oscar Piastri making a desperate move into turn one with a 16-point lead to try and get those extra 7 points, because every point really matters. And if that is with 10 races to go, or 11 in the one that they're in, what's it going to be like when there's 3 to go? How many desperate moves are they going to be making? Even more desperate moves, even more late lunges, even more hard defending, to the point that actually there will come a time where they both crash into each other and they both go out of the race. And then at which point the McLaren look at it and go, well, we need to chuck papaya rules out of the window and say, you two now don't act as teammates and race for a championship, because that is what's at stake here.
I think McLaren, like, from the first minute we heard papaya rules, we all kind of hated it. I think that's just been the general feeling across all the fans. I think the issue that they have now with both of their drivers fighting for the championship, I think stems from obviously Canada. Lando did what he did and he took the blame for it, but you don't see those sort of all or nothing moves from him. I think, again, just more experience, Oscar's driving style is different as well, but I think if they keep seeing Oscar be the one to make those moves, obviously a conversation is going to have to be had. I think maybe for him, he wants those points, he's on a winning streak essentially. He's kind of dominated Lando all season long. So of course he's going to want those extra points on the table. Yeah. I don't think he's maybe as sort of mature as we all thought. Again, controversial opinion, but I don't think he is maybe quite as clean and calculated. I think he still has that sort of desperation in that he can't kind of fight at the moment. This is his first opportunity where he's been winning. The championship is right there. The only thing in the way is, Lando Norris. He doesn't care. So I just think it's a different approach, it's a different mindset. Sometimes that, like, we can see maybe that hurts Lando's chances, but I think Oscar needs to race smarter in the second half of the season, because in my eyes, if they crash and they both go out, I think that will be a result of a silly Piastri move, but we'll see.
I think it's also the fact that Piastri is desperate because he is the leader currently. And I think he wants to keep the gap as big as possible so that there is no hope of a 2016 repeat like Hamilton and Rosberg. Because if you have that gap, then you're racing comfortably. You're not as desperate as you are. But the gap is not that big. It was 12, now it's 9, I think, yeah. And you want that gap to be as big as possible so that you're not under threat. But Piastri, I think Piastri feels under threat because Norris is not a bad driver. Norris is almost just as good as Piastri. Piastri might slightly have the edge at times. But again, we didn't see Norris make any mistakes in this race, and kudos to him, he won. So I think that's why Piastri is getting desperate, and I feel like there might be a time when he ignores the prior rules and just goes ham on Norris.
Yeah, I think the only other thing we can look at is they're probably going to wrap up this Constructors' Championship with quite a few races to spare. I think the gap is over 250 points now, or near around about that kind of level. You've got Ferrari that have one driver performing, Mercedes that have one driver performing, and Red Bull that have one driver performing. McLaren, the only team that have two drivers scoring points. They've got a fourth one, too, in the season. So it will be wrapped up with races to spare. And if they keep alternating wins in the way that they are, that the gap remains around about 10 to 20 points, with 4, 5, maybe even 6 races to spare, you could be looking at the McLaren team going, okay, so papaya rules are off, you're free to race hard. We've not got a Constructors' Championship to think about here, but do all you can to not crash into each other, not have team controversy, because they have got a good relationship, and I think you saw how difficult it was for Mercedes when it was Hamilton and Rosberg. So the last thing they want is to have an inter-team issue. They've got two great young drivers that they want to build a future around. So you don't want to have either one of them hating the other one and have in-team issues. But they could also say the papaya rules are off. You're free to race now that the Constructors is wrapped up. And that's, I think, what as racing fans we're hoping for is to see a proper teammate battle for the championship.
I think so, but I also think that McLaren are very bad at managing their driver on-track relationship situation. I've also heard from quite a few sources that relationship between Norris and Piastri has really changed in the last few months, which obviously we knew it would, but that kind of friendship that we saw, they both seem to have retreated quite a lot into their individual camps. Again, expected, but I don't think it would be that hard for either of them to just kind of throw caution to the wind and full send on each other. I don't think there will be loads of love lost between them. It's a really tricky one, because I think what will cost us as the fans will be McLaren's management of it. I think even if they wrap up the championship, it's really going to come down to the way they send their drivers racing and the way they communicate with their drivers. And, Zach Brown's always very, let them race. Okay, so let them race, kind of, this kind of charismatic PR strategy that they have is actually very different from what's actually playing out on track. So I think they're going to need to accept that they can't have the best of both worlds and kind of get on with it in some capacity. But they weren't very good at that last year. People still argue that they cost Lando the championship, and, so I wonder how it's going to be now that it's both their drivers, because one of them's going to win it.
Yeah.
Unless Lance Stroll really comes alive, I don't.
Lance Stroll's fan club.
I think it just totally comes down to the management, and from what we've seen so far, it's not managed very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it does take one Lando Norris or one Oscar Piastri move that takes the other one out of the race for the other one to then go, I'm not racing this guy fair anymore. And then all hell breaks loose.
I think as well, as fans, people don't really know what to kind of make of it, because we haven't had a teammate battle like this in quite a long time. And it must be really hard to navigate. You've seen all of the sort of chaos that's come before. It's not two teams fighting each other, it's two drivers. So a lot could go wrong here.
I think what Kieran just said, that it just takes one driver to mess up the other driver's race for them to not race fair with each other anymore. Oscar got really lucky at Canada after the incident with Norris. I feel like if Norris whatever happened there. If Oscar also crashed, he would have already been in that phase of, I'm not going to race clean anymore. I'm just going to win, and you guys can do whatever the hell you want. You guys can give me whatever order you want. The only order I'll follow is the pit stop, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, like as I say, I just feel like we've seen a couple of those silly moves from Oscar where since Canada. I mean, I think it was Austria where we saw a move like we had today. Really late lunge, which it hurts his race because he's still behind Lando and he's flat spotted his tyre. So I just think it will be interesting to see if they do end up crashing in a big way. It'll be interesting to see how that sort of ramps up between them, because I think Oscar's already kind of there. I think Lando's kind of, I don't know if you saw his comments, I think it was this morning, about, he doesn't want to play mind games or anything with Oscar, which could in itself be him playing a mind game by saying he doesn't want to play mind games. I don't know. But, like, I think, yeah, there's a lot there with differences in mentality and differences in racecraft, so a lot could happen in the next few months. And then they're going to have to carry that into 2026 as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's so much behind closed doors that we as fans will just never truly know what's going on. So what Zach Brown and Andrea Stella are dealing with, what the drivers are putting on the team in their personal relationship, strain that's upon that, which, as you said, Jazz, is expected when you've got a championship battle between two teammates. I think is only going to get worse, and McLaren have to manage that in the correct way. And whether or not they do, we'll wait to see. We've got 10 races to go. We've got a summer break now where they'll take time apart and maybe come back stronger. We don't know what's going to happen, but all we know is as fans, 10 races to go, and we're in for a pretty much cracking end to the season, and I think it's going to the last race. But what I don't think will go to the last race is the battle for the fastest pit stop. We had a new fastest pit stop of the season today. McLaren, who have been on top for quite some time, actually, on top again, 1.9 second pit stop. Yeah. So incredible work, done really well in the pit stops, probably played a massive part in helping them out. As we know, tenths of a second make all the difference in Formula One. So 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second quicker in a pit stop makes all the difference. So yeah, congratulations to McLaren, who have got the brand new fastest pit stop time of the season, and I don't think that's being beaten in the next 10 races due.
Yeah.
No, I mean, McLaren, obviously, great show from them today. I was quite surprised when I found out that they'd taken the fastest one, because I feel like they've kind of been off form a little bit with their pit stops lately.
It's been Ferrari for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I was quite surprised, but yeah, great for them. So I hope that continues. I hope they start getting quicker. That'd be great.
Yeah.
When will we see a 1.7 second pit stop? That's all I want to know.
Very, very difficult, actually. I think McLaren also hold the record for the actual fastest pit stop ever, which is 1.89.
8.9. I thought it was 8.2.
It was something in that range, yeah. It was a 1.8, then some number at the end, but a 1.8 nevertheless.
It's actually 1.80 on the dot. Whoa. Achieved at Qatar Grand Prix 2023, which beat the previous record of 1.82 by Red Bull. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Get that in for the next pub quiz because you'll need it.
Yeah.
I think our team's fastest pit stop, we could get the 1.7. I'm confident in
If we train hard enough, I think 1.7 from fastest pit stop will gain the fastest pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
Or as we should be called, the Lance Strolls fan club. It's the name I'm petitioning out there.
Rebranding.
Yeah, rebrand Lance Strolls fastest pit stop for a world record. But I think yeah, as we've touched on today, lots of things. Ferrari haven't done very well. McLaren have got a lot to deal with in their drivers. And obviously, McLaren taking the fastest pit stop of the season going forwards. I think the summer break is coming at the perfect time for everyone at the moment to regroup. Some young drivers to find their feet, find their groove again. Some more experienced drivers to just take a bit of time and try and find their enjoyment back again. And the teams to figure out what on earth they need to do to try and get better. Because, my God, there is 9 teams on this grid that need to look at improving something. Because right now, McLaren 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, I think is pretty much a McLaren season set in stone. But we will call the Lance Stroll's fan club there for today. I think this is the last time you'll hear the Lance Stroll's fan club intro, unless we see him in another kind of P7 area, which I'm saying I kind of hope he does again because I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
I thank Dogra and I thank Jazz for joining me on the podcast today. Any last words, guys?
No.
I'm bringing out the Glock 17 in my closet.
There was a lot of thinking there from Jazz as well before she said no. So
Yeah.
I wonder what was going through that she might have said but decided not to.
Nah, nothing.
Oh.
No.
She was just going to remind me of the Glock.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't want to bring it up.
Well, I'll call it there because I'm going to have to go and control these two in a minute before more arguments break out. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you like it, you comment what you thought of the race today, and you comment what you think the rest of the season is going to look like. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because we are going to be posting a lot more content on the channel, as well as during the summer break to give you your F1 fix without any actual F1 on-track racing. From the 3 of us, from me, from Dogra, and from Jazz, we'll see you in the next one, and it's goodbye.
Bye.